The path to Alberta independence is before us. Elections Alberta has approved a referendum question from the group, the Alberta Prosperity Project, and they can now begin collecting signatures in order to trigger that referendum. The specific wording of the question is, do you agree that Alberta should cease to be a part of Canada to become an independent state? Once they begin collecting signatures, they will have 120 days to meet the threshold of 177 signatures. And the man who's been mobilizing Albertans on this issue for the past year and more is about to join us. Mitch Sylvestre, the CEO of the Alberta Prosperity Project. Okay, Mitch, so you have said that you've done about 90 meetings as the CEO of the Alberta Prosperity Project. Elections Alberta has now given your group the go-ahead for your question, which is a question about leaving Canada, and you guys can actually begin that process of collecting the signatures, which would trigger the referendum. I'm seeing reports that that could begin right away here in early January. So tell me, what is your plan to trigger this referendum and get those signatures?
Well, we're going to register 2,000 canvassers right off the bat, and our plan
2,000.
is to get many thousand more. We believe that the way we're going to do this is to get people to talk to the people they know that are in favor of this. So we started with 250,000 people after the federal election last year. And so that gave us kind of a boost, people who signed our intent to sign. And we believe that they have 2 or 3 or 4 people that they can add to the list, and we're going to start right there. So we have 2,000 canvassers with names on a list, and they're going to go talk to these people that have already committed to sign. So that'll get us over the number that's required for us to call the referendum. So the referendum number is 177,000. And because of the new rules, we have to check ID on everyone. So we're expecting a very low attrition rate. So we expect, to get this thing going and hopefully get a whole bunch of support for this to get this over the top in the next 4 months, starting January 2nd, apparently.
So January 2nd is actually when you're going to begin collecting those signatures.
Well, January 2nd is when Elections Alberta opens up again, and then they're going to have to approve our canvassers. So once they approve our canvassers, then away we go. So they're saying, well, I don't know how long it's going to take to approve 2,000 canvassers, but it's going to take a bit of a little bit of time, I believe, 3, 4, 5 days. So we're thinking possibly, 8th, 9th, 10th of January will be flat out.
And I was also seeing online that you guys need to approve a chief financial officer before you can get going. Is that still something you're working on, or do you have that in place now?
Oh, it's all done. So we have a bank account. We're calling the initiative or the drive Stay Free Alberta, and we're going to be taking donations to stayfreealberta.com. We're going to have a website up here in a day or two, so with where people can get all the information they need. And you know what? We're set up. We've got a CFO. We're going to be looking for third party status here very shortly. So away we go.
And for these canvassers, are they going to be kind of in public places, like outside of grocery stores? I know in the summer I saw the Forever Canada groups. I saw them at all the farmers markets. Or are they going to be going door to door to get these signatures?
I think and hope our plan is to go to every door in Alberta. We're going to go to every door in Alberta. We're going to absolutely go to town halls. We're going to have we're allowed to have tables at our APP town halls. So we found out. So that's going to help us. And then we're going to go to everywhere we need to go. We're hoping to get canvassers in every community. So say let's talk Bonneville here because that's where I am. We would like to get 100 or 200 canvassers here in Bonneville and every CA in Alberta, and get them to talk to their friends and get them to sign. That's going to be the way we're going to win this.
When Jeff Rath was on the show just last week, he said, I know you said you have to get 177,000 signatures to trigger that referendum. He said that he's hoping to get more of like 1 million. Is that what you're thinking as well?
Well, sure. We have many goals. We would like to get. We're going to see when we start collecting signatures how this is going to go, because it's kind of it's a bit of a mystery. Even though from my town halls it looks like it's not as much as a mystery as people think. There's a tremendous amount of support for this, and I'm for sure thinking that we can win. So our short-term goal would be to get 500,000 signatures based on the fact that we should already have 250,000 in the bag. And then the other thing is that a million shouldn't be out of the question, and you know what, more would be better.
Mhm.
You know what, anything more than that would be fantastic, would send a very strong message.
You've done 90 meetings and you said you've seen how strong the support for this is, but I have to ask because the idea of Alberta independence has been floating around probably since Alberta joined Canada to begin with. It's certainly something that people were pretty eager to talk to me about when I moved to Alberta 3.5 years ago. So why now? Why is this push for independence so strong? And we're actually moving forward with this referendum process. Why is this happening now?
Well, because everything's changed. I mean, we're people are realizing that what we have in power, down east is basically, I mean, there's no other way to say it. They're a criminal organization. You can say it any way you want. Does anybody in Canada actually believe that the Liberals are not stealing money from the people? So if they're stealing money from the people, how do you negotiate with that? How do you negotiate with those people? The other thing is they're flat out sabotaging our biggest industry. Now, let's understand this. And I'm a businessman. I totally understand this, and I'm sure everybody else does. How can you run deficit after deficit after deficit, year after year after year, and sabotage the biggest industry you have in the country by far and expect to pay it back? It's not possible. It's just absolutely not possible. People in Alberta are seeing that there's a train wreck coming, and and it's intentional. There's absolutely no way you can tell me that's not intentional. Our GDP has grown 1.4% in the last 10 years. There's only one way you do that, is if you try to consciously do this. So this government, and this is according to Danielle Smith said they're sabotaging our industry. Well, they absolutely are sabotaging our industry. So if they're sabotaging our industry, then they're hurting every Albertan, because this is the biggest thing we do here. And, the six-fold carbon tax that they've introduced with this new memorandum of understanding is piling on. So it's getting easier and easier to make our case, because our people are absolutely seeing that there's absolutely no logic to anything that's happening. And then they're coming down with bills that are absolutely ridiculous bills, like Bill C-9. All this religious stuff that's going to happen, they're going to put us into. If you do a deep dive into that, it's absolute communism. It's amazing that this is even on the floor of the House in Canada. So what's happening is that there's a great big push on both sides. They're pushing to push us into a place we don't want to be at, and we're pushing to get out because we don't want them to push us into that place. And I think that's pretty much the way it is. The battle lines are being drawn, and they're being drawn by the other side.
Mhm. When you host these meetings, are most people coming because they are already pro-independence, or are they coming to be educated?
It's a very, very unique dynamic. I'm going to share this with you. It's kind of a surprise to all of us. So before the federal election, we were getting smaller rooms, 100, 150 people, 200 people. Now we're getting a lot of very full rooms, and we get up to 80% people that have never been to a political meeting, rarely less than 50. So it's all new people. Like, the people that are there are bringing people, and as a consequence of that, we were in, Taber the other night, and it was at least 90% brand new people that had never been to a meeting. And, when they left, we asked the question, "How many of you here are in support of Alberta independence?" Everyone in the room, and that's also a constant. Every time that we present, what we have to tell people, and we show them what's happening, and we break it down step by step by step, and they leave understanding, the common comment is, "We knew it was bad, but we didn't have any idea it was this bad." And the other thing is that, yeah, where can we sign?
Mhm. What's the number one concern that people have with leaving Canada?
You know what? Pension is a big deal, because we did a lot of pension town halls before, so we're kind of very fluent in pension conversation. People should understand that they're going to try to intimidate us in many ways. We've been out there looking for ways that we can assure the people of Alberta that this transition is going to be easier than what the federal government is going to say. But you know what? We pay $9 billion a year to CPP, and our seniors only collect 6. So we've got a built-in buffer there already. So, I mean,
Hmm.
we could actually pay our seniors with the CPP that we actually pay CPP, and give them a 40% raise right off the bat, just the way we're set up, without changing a thing.
Mhm.
So I
Um,
think, the other thing, uncertainty is a big problem in people's lives. People like to be, know what's going on. But here's the thing. Uh, is separating from Canada going to be worse than staying? Is the question now. The question now is that, inflation is out of control. They're going to put $80 billion deficit this year federally. We're provincially running deficits. So your money is going to be worth exponentially less every year. And I mean, what are they actually doing that's positive is what I'd like to know.
mhm.
It's
Um,
very easy for people to say, "Well, you know what, we wanna stay here," but I mean, if the ship is sinking, sometimes you have to jump in a life raft, and I think that's what we're offering. The other thing is that, if we stand up as Albertans and, say to the rest of Canada, "Look, we think that this is a chain wreck, and, we want out of this," maybe they'll, stand up and say, "Hey, well, you know what? There's a problem here, and, it's the Liberals."
you've mentioned some of the economic arguments for leaving, and I think that's, first and foremost in everyone's mind right now because the Canadian economy is doing so terribly, and people are really feeling that every single day. And, you talked a little bit about Bill C-9, and I would have to say for me, as much as I know that the economy is important and that could change people's life in a tangible way, like, in a few days if things were to start doing better. The thing that's almost more interesting and maybe more important to me is actually culture. I'm deeply worried about what's happened to the culture of this country with legislation like Bill C-9, which is essentially going to criminalize parts of my religion, and ban pastors from reading the Bible off the pulpit on Sundays. And also with the rampant immigration that we're seeing, just mass migration to Canada, like totally open borders. Does that come up at these meetings? Are people saying we need to create our own country that has, a distinct culture that is very much separate from the secularism and the mass migration that we're seeing in Canada right now?
Well, let's go with immigration first of all. Immigration is the way this is working is it's designed to destabilize us. Period. There's no other way to describe it because as a I've been around long enough to understand that when we used to bring people to Canada, they had to be sponsored, and the sponsor had to take care of them so that they were absolutely making sure that they were contributing to society. Right now, that's not at all what's happening. Right now, we have immigration, and they're paying employers to hire these immigrants so that Albertans can't work. So we've got double-digit unemployment for kids. They're paying up to 40% of their wages. So how's that work? So the plan is to actually put Albertans out of work. How else do you look at that? I mean, you can pretend that it's not happening. All of this, you can pretend that none of this is happening. They're bringing in 2 million immigrants a year. There's only 40 million people here. So they're replacing us. There is a replacement theory. It's actually written down. The United Nations has it. I have a copy of it. I have it on my slide. It says this is exactly what they're doing, and they're doing it on purpose. So the minute that people understand that none of this is accidental, and it's not just happening here, it's happening in England, it's happening in Europe, it's happening everywhere. Same plan. So we either have to accept what they're giving us or stop it. And I'm all for stopping it. The other side of it is a C9. Like, imagine imagine even being able to say that the Torah or the Bible is a hate symbol, and that you could go to jail or worse if you actually read the legislation. There's a clause on there that said that they can actually take you out. That the penalty for this, for being a member of this group is, I wish I had the quote in front of me. I read it over and over again to people, but they can actually there's a death clause on there. So if you're a member of a Christian group and you're a hate group, which they consider hate group, if you're a member of if you're a Muslim, every Muslim church in every Muslim group in Canada is against C9 in its entirety. They want it stopped, and so should every Christian. So we're going to go talk to Christian churches. We're going to organize pastors to talk to pastors and say, hey, this is absolutely crazy what's happening here. And understand that this bill there's no parts of it that are good. So it has to go in its entirety. And it should be dealt with. Our people have to say, well, you know what? We're understanding that there's things going on here that never ever happened before. and we have to recognize it. But everybody's preoccupied with other things, and that's the problem. But we're seeing a, a real big response to what we're saying, and people are saying, "Well, you know what? I agree. It's time for us to change things."
So you're planning on mobilizing Christians as part of the independence referendum to gather signatures, or is that separate?
Well, not just Christians, anybody, any religious group. Because I mean, one of the cornerstones of a democracy is freedom of religion, and this is absolutely against that. This is not just Christians, but yes, absolutely, we're going to get Christians involved. We're going to get Muslim churches involved. We're going to absolutely do our best to get everybody involved because that's what we want. We would like every Albertan to see that, you know what, this needs to change, all of it.
I have to ask you about Alberta Premier Danielle Smith. Obviously, she has said that she still thinks that there's a way for Canada to work for Alberta. Most recently, she mentioned that at the United Conservative Party annual general meeting, did not receive a very positive reception when it was said. Her not supporting the independence movement, is that hurting you guys?
No, no, not at all. And I'm going to tell you something about all that. Um, I don't agree with everything the UCP does. I don't agree with a lot of things the UCP do, and I'm very public about it. So I'm just going to say this. But here's the deal. The deal is we are here now, right? We are in a position to make this happen ourselves. If when we elected the UCP government 3 years ago or however many years ago, somebody would have told me that we would be in a position to determine our own destiny based on the amount of work we have to do, I would have been very happy with that. And I don't think that, based on everything else, what giving us the ability to do what we're doing is going to give us the ability to control our own destiny. That being the case, we can change all those bad rules if people want to do that. Now, there's always, a question mark in my mind. Where's the hook? Where's the cheat? How's that going to come in? How is this going to, how are they going to try to derail us? Because they're definitely going to try to derail us because this is a real deal and this has serious, serious consequences. And but the whole problem is it's our job to build it big enough so that they can't. And I think we can do that, and we're going to do that.
So, you said Danielle Smith not supporting the movement isn't hurting you guys. Is it hurting her?
Well, if we win, I don't see how. Because I mean, there's people out there that are going to equate the fact that the UCP actually give us the opportunity to do this to the extent of they even change the law to make it happen. Although I'm not naive enough to believe that they didn't put too far in the Citizens Initiative Act in the first place, so that they could have their finger on the scale there. But at any rate, yeah. So you know what, our our mindset at APP is this: we're here. We have a chance to do this. Let's work really hard. Let's get more Albertans. Let's get a majority of Albertans to sign this thing right off the bat so that we can win this right in this stage. And I believe we can. I really believe we can. If we're going to work hard enough to get it done. We've been saying for years, and I caught myself on this the other night. I said, I'm going to have to start following my own advice or David's advice right off the bat. There's no politicians going to save us. So right now, we're in a position to save ourselves, and I think we should take advantage of that and be very cognizant of the fact that this is never going to come around again. This is it. Like we're burning the boats behind us here. So we're going to absolutely do the best we can, as fast as we can, to get as many people to understand what's happening here. And that's why we call it Stay Free Alberta, because all our freedoms are definitely under attack. And we believe that, if we call it Stay Free Alberta, it identifies what we're doing. And, it makes it easy for people to understand what we're doing. There's nobody in Alberta that believes that they don't want to live in a free space, or in a free under freedom, and that we've grown up knowing. And that's the biggest problem. The only advantage of aging, Rachel, is that I've seen the difference. I see what's going on here as absolutely ridiculous. I just cannot understand how it got to this point. I grew up in one of the best times that you could possibly have grown up in history. We had the opportunity. When I was a boy, I graduated. I bought a house in my 20s easily. And as a matter of fact, I was late. I didn't buy a house till I was 24, 25. My friends had houses for 4 or 5 years. You could raise a family on a single income and own a house. And we're talking, could you imagine that today if you're not like a gifted athlete? Like, there's absolutely no way that, a 20-year-old or 22-year-old can come up with a deposit to buy a six or $700,000 house and then expect to have, children in order so they can pay for it.
Hmm.
And that's part of that nonsense too. Part of that nonsense is that they're bringing all these people in to replace us. They're making us work so hard to afford to actually be able to eat that we can't have children. And there's a lot of people talking about not having children because they can't afford to, because they can't eat. So, because both partners have to be working. They basically changed our entire lifestyle uh, around their agenda. And you know what? We can put a stop to it. And I think we can. And the other thing is, in a free and independent Alberta, we're going to have money to do it with. And you're not going to be paying 44% taxes. And that's a big deal. 44% tax is absolute lunacy. Like, there's absolutely no way anybody can make a living paying 44% tax. It's designed that way, and they're piling on a six-fold increase in carbon tax here that's gonna start in the spring. It's gonna make that worse, and it's gonna make it harder on the farmers to produce. It's gonna make it harder on the farmers to put the crop on the ground. Everybody in Alberta is under attack with these people, and it's a direct economic attack, and if you have no money to pay your bills, you're going to understand, and a lot of people don't right now. The lineup at the food bank are ridiculous. We're not talking about minor changes, or we're talking about a fundamental change in direction here, back to where it was before, and that's where we're going. That's where we have to go. We have to stop these people from doing all the things they're doing at Mach 1 speed, so that we can actually, literally, really understand the depth of it. And that's really where I'm at.
I don't I know you need to get 177,000 signatures. I don't think I quite pinned you on exactly how many you're planning on getting, but the Forever Canada petition, which was asking basically, saying that we should stay in Canada, they gained over 400,000 signatures. So do you feel that there's maybe a bit of an obligation there to at least get more than they did,
Oh,
to
100%.
show that you have the momentum?
Oh, yeah, no, 100%. No, absolutely. And, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here a little bit. How many of those people that signed Mr. Lukaszyk's petition actually wanted a referendum vote?
Well,
Didn't want
that's the
to
question, isn't
necessarily
it?
vote to stay into Canada, right? Because I know those people. There are people that have told me, "Look, I signed that just because I want to vote." Because
Right.
if we get a vote, then we have the opportunity to vote against that.
But on
So
the flip side, couldn't the same thing happen to you guys?
oh, yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely, but in our case, it's a little bit different. Our question is, are we going to leave Canada? And the difference between the questions is, ours is a constitutional question, there's a policy question. Ours is a standalone, clear question that has to be asked to the people of Alberta, and they're going to have the opportunity to vote yes or no, and it will open the Constitution. The policy question doesn't do any of that. So, I mean, to quote Justice Feasby, their question's a nothing burger. Our question is the real deal.
Mhm. So you're thinking people wouldn't sign the petition to trigger a referendum on such a serious, like, as you said, constitutional issue, if they didn't actually want the referendum?
I really think that. Yeah, I really think that. Why? But why sign it? Because if we don't get the signatures, then the status quo remains. So if our people are going to sign it because they want to go.
Mhm. Just my last question before, I leave you for today, but we saw a lot of criticism from the interview that I did with Jeff Rath, perhaps unsurprisingly, but, one of the criticisms that I've seen is that with this line of credit that Jeff is saying that he's been talking to his US sources um, he's been talking to his US sources about getting a line of credit for Alberta while they're negotiating with Ottawa should the referendum be successful. Um, people are saying you're basically ending reliance with Ottawa to then turn around and rely on the Trump administration. What would your response be to that?
Well, you know what? I mean, we're dotting our i's and crossing our t's here. We don't want chaos on day two. So if we have assurances that to the people of Alberta that we're going to have funding in place should day two happen, and they're going to try to sanction us economically. I mean, there's that's one of the very few things that they can do to us. So if we take that off the table, it's going to first of all assure people that you know what there's a path forward. Hopefully, we're not going to need that line of credit. to tell you the truth. But having it there for banking reasons. I mean, everybody understands. I mean, I'm in business. We have lines of credit all the time in business. I mean, it doesn't have to come from the Trump administration. It can come from anywhere. We have lots of assets here. I mean, it's not our job to do that. To go out there and look for line of credits right now. But you know what? We're just testing the waters. These are conversations that we're having. Nothing's been written in stone there. So the whole thing is that I would say that if we don't dot our I's and cross our T's, people are going to give us at least as much criticism or more. So we're just out there looking for things that are going to make this a better deal for the people of Alberta, and that's the goal.
Mhm.
The goal is to make Albertans better off. Our goal is plain and simple. We're not loading a train full of money. We're not going to get rich off of this. Matter of fact, just the opposite. We're going to try it. The intentions are as absolutely pure as they can be. We're absolutely trying to make everybody in Alberta better off, either side of the aisle. And we don't want to slide into a system of government a tyrannical system of government that we believe is going to be very, very hard to get out of once we're in it. So I think, you know what, we're better off to err on the side of caution, remove ourselves from the situation, make sure that we can comfortably remove ourselves from the situation, and move forward, because we will be running fiscal surpluses at the end of the year, every year, moving forward. So if you're running fiscal surpluses, you don't need to borrow money. So there you go. There's the truth of it. So if we have more money than we need, then we don't have to borrow it, and we can leave it right where it is, and there'd be no obligations at all tied to it. The only way that we're going to have obligations to the Trump administration or to anybody or to any bank is if you need it. I mean, if you have to pay it back and you cannot, and that I don't see that happening. Not
Mitch,
based on the numbers that I see.
well, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate the update, and we'll be following it with interest in January.
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me. Take care. Have a
Okay.
good day.
Yeah. Talk to you soon. Yeah.
Bye bye.
All right, everyone, that's all we have for you today. Happy New Year. I hope that you guys have some good plans tonight celebrating. As for me, I will be observing Ontario New Year's so that I can go to bed at 10 p.m. rather than midnight. Okay, guys, take care. God bless.